Okay, so I cleaned it for a good bit. One thing I noticed is that the R2 silicone wafer thing was a lot dirtier than the left side. So maybe that was the issue. I'm still not sure. But I was able to clean this off pretty well. So I guess the next thing is to clean the rest of the buttons and test it. Okay, I got it back together and I put the battery back in. So before I put everything back, I'm gonna go test it so I don't have to disassemble the controller again. So this should be all I need to test the button. So this is kind of interesting. When I press down really hard, the accelerometer actually goes. So let me just go down to a lower gear and we actually could drive the vehicle. Although it's still not perfect. Yeah, we are going now. So it looks like it's just a mechanical problem, not an electrical problem. So there's something wrong with this contact. So again, if I press down on this, you can see that little white bar right here go up, and that indicates that I'm pressing the R2 button. So you can see how it's going up and down a little bit. Press down really hard, it works. So it looks like there's something wrong between this contact connection. So what I'm going to do is swap this wafer with this wafer and see if that makes a difference. So with a little bit of fiddling around, I'm able to accelerate now, but it looks a little choppy. If you notice right here, it should be smooth. As you can see, the left button is smooth, while the right is a little choppy. So it looks like it's still kind of damaged, but it's better, I think. I wonder if that issue is solved if I put back the back casing, and maybe it makes a better firm press down, if that makes sense. I'm going to further inspect this a little bit more. I did switch the wafer from this side to this side, and it seems to be working a lot better. It's just a little bit choppy when you press the button. I'm going to try messing with this a little bit more and see what I get. Okay, I've been trying to mess with the button a little bit further, but there seems to be no solution so far. I mean, sometimes it'll work fine, but then it'll stop working again. What I noticed as well is that the X button would also go out and not work, as well as the R2 button. So that leads me to believe that there's something wrong with the actual conductive film that makes contact with all the silicone buttons. So this is the last resort where I take apart a good controller and exchange the conductive film and see if that's the actual issue. Because I believe it's not the actual silicone wafer, it's not the button, it's not the spring. So the last thing there is the conductive film. Okay, I think I got some good news. When I took out this motherboard and look at the connection on the R2 side that connects in the motherboard with the conductive film, you can see that it's very, very dirty. So maybe that is the issue, and maybe that's why the X button sometimes doesn't work as well. I'm going to try to clean this up before I take off the conductive film and try to replace it with a working one. By the way, if you want to take off the motherboard, there are 4 different pins that are holding it together. So you have to push these back and then take out the motherboard. So there's one right here, there's one right here, one on the other side, and then 2 on the bottom right next to the rumblers. So you just push these back and then this motherboard should fall out. So now I'm going to try to clean that conductive film. Okay, this was actually pretty difficult to take off because whatever was on there, which you can see right here, how dirty it is, whatever was on there made it hard to take off because it just stuck onto this little back plate. I'm going to have to clean these connections. I don't know if you can see these very well. I'm going to have to clean this connection right here that connects to the left side of the conductive film, and then clean this connection as well because those were dirty and very sticky. So I'm just going to take some isopropyl alcohol and rub these down and see if this solves the issue. Hopefully it is, because this is the only part that connects the button to the motherboard. So this has to be the issue. If not, if this doesn't repair it, then I have to just try the working conductive film on my other controller and replace it with this one and see if it works that way. You also want to be very delicate with this because the rumblers are attached with the wire and it's connected with solder. So if you pull this too hard, you might rip off one of the wires and you have to resolder that wire back onto the motherboard. So just be careful if you're taking this thing apart. Okay, so I got this film pretty clean, and it would actually make sense why the X button wouldn't work. Is if it was really dirty, I would assume it would create some short between some button, such as the X button, and cause it not to work properly. So I got this pretty clean, definitely a lot cleaner than it was before. And I also cleaned the other side of the D-pad, although that wasn't necessary, but I cleaned it just in case. hopefully now all I have to do is put this back together and it should be working. I almost forgot. You should also probably clean the connection that actually connects to the conductive film. So these are right next to the rumblers. So these right here. So this one and this one. You should clean those connections as well. So upon further inspection, it also looks like the circuit board might be a little bit damaged based on whatever was stuck onto that connection. So if you look really closely, I don't know if you can see it that well, but there is some scratches going along this connection at the very corner, as well as this little IC circuit looks damaged, but as far as I can tell, I don't know if that's true. If that is the case, last resort would actually replace this whole motherboard, or if I can, replace that little connection right there. I just have to keep that in mind if it doesn't work still. Like, it appears to be water damage or so, but I'm not too sure. I don't want to scratch anything with these pair of tweezers, but it looks like there's some sort of damage happening right here. But it doesn't look like the analog joysticks are affected by this, so I just need to make a mental note of this. So I'm going to try to put everything back together and see what we get. Okay, everything's back together to a state where I could just test it. So the next step is just test this controller. Hopefully it works now. Okay, so it appears to be working fairly well. It looks like it's holding down pretty accurately. I noticed the acceleration, the little white bar, changes as I steer. So I think that's just the game. But if I slowly increase it without steering that much, it looks like it has that sensitivity that it should have. Although it does squeak a little bit now, but I think that's just like the spring and the actual button just sliding against each other. So I think I solved this problem. So the R2 button seems to be working pretty well. Before I could even sell it though, just to be a little bit more comfortable with it, I'm gonna just play with this controller until something gives out. If it doesn't give out for at least a day or so, then I will say this controller is completely fixed. So I'll get back to you guys on this controller. Okay, so I've been playing with the controller for a good amount of time, probably a good couple hours. I just kind of got lost in gaming and I didn't realize I was really just testing this. But yeah, the R2 button is actually working and no other buttons are broken, so it looks like I repaired this PS4 controller. Now, it actually took me a long time to actually repair this, although it was a very simple fix. Technically, this repair should have taken me at least like 15 to 30 minutes max. But since this was actually like my first repair on a PS4 controller, it only took me like an hour or so to do all what I've shown in this video. I'm going to keep like a catalog or some sort of flow chart or diagram to solve these problems a lot easier. So the next time I have a controller that has a button broken, beyond just being it mechanically broken, it's just it doesn't work but all the other buttons work, I'll make sure to clean all the connections to that button, including the ribbon cable or whatever it's called that connects the button to the motherboard. Now it's just time to put this on to auction. If you like to purchase this controller, it works great. I have no issue with it and it's pretty good. There'll be a link down below if you wish to purchase this. We'll probably be fixing more PS4 controllers in the future. With that being said, I'll see you in the next video.